An SDET, or a software development engineer in test, is quite a fancy word lately, and a lot of people are getting confused between the difference of an SDET and a QA automation engineer. And as I've spent about a decade of my life in the world of QA automation, and SDETs, I decided to explain the difference of both and also share with you a roadmap of how can you become an SDET from scratch, based on an example of a LinkedIn job description, which we're going to go through line by line and explain every single point of it. But I will share it only with those kind of folks who will hit this big fat thumb up button below, who will subscribe to our channel, as you do not want to miss out on useful tutorials, success stories of people who became an SDET or QA completely from scratch, and general information about QA and SDET market and trends. And also with those who will check out our Instagram, Telegram, and LinkedIn communities, links to which you can find right here. Now, let me quickly introduce myself, and then I'm going to kick it off. My name is Sergey Kromchenko, and I'm a software QA engineer, lead manager, and a senior engineering manager of SDET in the past. But these days, I'm helping people like you to become a QA engineer from scratch, or to improve your existing skills, or QA automation engineer, or an SDET. Well, we're gonna find that out soon. Before we get into a roadmap and into a job description, let me quickly explain who an SDET is. If you read it word by word, software development engineer in test, you will probably get an idea that it is a software developer or a person who creates websites, applications, or infrastructures for it. And that particular person does some testing. So the first word or phrase is software developer. The second one is in test. So first of all, officially speaking, not unofficially, it should be a software developer that does some testing. But generally speaking, on the market these days, an SDET is a fancy word for a QA automation engineer, or it's sort of kind of an advanced version of QA automation engineer. The person who can automate and write some scripts for testing is called an SDET. And a lot of companies are simply changing the naming from QA automation engineer into an SDET, from senior QA automation into an SDET. I don't think that's the proper way to call things, but that's the very common thing on the market, and we're going to go through the job description soon where you will see the proof of it. There will be 0 words about programming, and majority of that will be about software QA automation. But regardless, one more time, an SDET is a software dev who can write a front-end code or a back-end code, or it could be a DevOps, because software engineers, they do a lot of things, generally speaking, and that person should know how to test. But testing is a completely different mindset, and let me talk about it right now. If you are a software developer, you have a mindset of creator, of the person who creates a software that works, and you're creating something, it's your baby. And in majority of cases, you hear about jokes between QAs and devs, that devs are getting angry and fighting QAs for filing bugs because devs think that their code is their baby, they did create it. And I kind of understand them with all my soul, unless I'm a QA engineer. And that kind of makes sense, right? You create something, you want it to be excellent, so you don't really want to test it thoroughly in order to find all of the possible issues. It's a different level when a dev creates the code and can test it in a professional way. So it's a different profession, it's a different mindset. That's why we don't usually see developers who become SDETs. In a lot of cases, we see test automation engineers or QA automation engineers who later on learn how to do programming and become an SDET. That's much more common case on the market. But as you understood, you're gonna have to do black box testing. You're gonna have to do gray box testing. You're gonna have to do white box testing. If you are an SDET the way SDET's supposed to be. If you are a fancy word SDET, then you might do black box testing and a gray box testing, and you don't have to do white box testing necessarily, and you can still get that SDET job. So while mindset is different, there is one common thing, well, quite a few, but one very common thing between both of those positions, where An advanced QA automation engineer, or an SDET, should know how to work with infrastructure, by which I mean CI/CD, such as GitHub Actions, Jenkins, Circle CI, or whatever CI/CD software you want to use. You should be familiar, you should know how to set it up from scratch, or at least to utilize. But the more advanced you're becoming, either an SDET or test automation engineer, the more you should be involved into it, because it's a different level. And now we're going to switch into job posting on the LinkedIn, and I will show you quite a few technical aspects that you should know as a software development engineer in test. Okay, this is the last advertisement, I promise. So, you gotta subscribe to our channel, don't forget about that, because you are going to miss out on a lot of useful content. And mainly, I have just started a QA Automation Engineer Introduction Week, where you can go for 1 week of introduction into world of QA automation, where I will teach you how to write basic code and also how to create test automation framework from scratch and automate your first ever test within 1 single week. If you're interested, I'm going to leave a link right below this video. Now, let's continue. Let's take a look at this SDET position. So, I've just searched for an SDET, and as you can see, I've picked second job posting. The first one was pretty much empty with only a few lines of requirements, so I went to something that had a little more. And as you can see, we have 730 SDET positions on a US market as of now. Alrighty, let's scroll down and see what we got here. So about the job, I'm going to skip this part. In most of the cases, it's going to be BS that you have to read in order to find out more information about a team, but usually it's not as important, or about a company. What you will do, these are the very important pieces of the puzzle. So it is a hybrid position in Los Angeles, where I am at right now, at the company called BuildUps, and it's a senior SDET position. So very first one, automation, test automation and tooling. Design, develop, and maintain test automation frameworks and suites for APIs, including contract testing and integration testing strategies. Contract testing is a testing of contracts between multiple microservices. And microservices are pretty much small pieces of the puzzle that together create a server for the application that you are working on. Pretty much, it's a microsystem of small servers that connect together into one large application. Review, design, and identify whether test automation should be built at the UI, API, or database level. Amazing. Integrate. Automated test both UI and API into CI/CD pipeline for continuous integration. That's what I was talking about. You're definitely going to have to work with the CI/CD and both UI and API automation. But pay attention to the wording that we're not actually talking about any software development, only test automation frameworks at the moment, and integrations. Process improvement. Continuously refine testing processes and methodologies, championing best practices and to enhance test coverage, efficiency, and quality across all teams. General information, nothing new here. Evaluate and introduce new testing technologies and tools to stay ahead of the curve. As every QA engineer or as that, you have to be up to date. You have to watch YouTube videos like this one. Okay, let's get to requirements, because we'll get a lot of info that is not necessarily needed for us at the moment. But in requirements, we're going to see the majority of it. Number 1, bachelor's degree in computer science, engineering, or related field. In 99% of the cases, you are not going to need any degree. I never have finished even a college. The high school diploma, that's the best thing that I got out of my life so far in terms of education. And that was back in Ukraine in 2007, if I'm not mistaken. So I've been working on this field for the decade. I worked myself up to senior engineering manager of SDET, and I have never had any education aside of the bootcamp, just like CodeMify, just like our bootcamp, where we help people to become a QA automation engineers from scratch, or to become an SDET or QA automation engineers. Alrighty, 3+ years experience as an SDET or equivalent. Amazing. Experience designing and implementing API test automation frameworks. Absolutely. As the key automation engineer, you have to do that. And by the way, we do teach these frameworks for UI and for API testing as well. So if you guys are interested, I'm going to quickly tell you to go to this website and check it out. If you never did any kind of technical work, feel free to sign up for the introduction week where you will go through 1 week of education with me for 7 days, only for $20, where you will be able to learn basics of QA and have a full understanding plus internship in a US-based startup. All right, I'm coming back here. Experience UI and test automation, ideal with Cypress and Playwright. As I mentioned, we're teaching both of those frameworks. Those are the most modern test automation frameworks as of now. Playwright is becoming more and more popular these days, FYI. Strong programming skills in a TypeScript, Java, or another relevant language. So pretty much if you know any programming language and you are good with it, you can apply for this job. And knowing programming language does not mean that you have to be a programmer or a software developer. It means you have to know how to write the code. And that's what key automation engineers also do. Experience refactoring and extending automation frameworks to improve velocity. In human words, if you have ever implemented anything, for example, our students sometimes implement Mailosaur, it's one of the examples. You can simply go to this website right here, build a test automation framework from scratch. Go to this website. Your account is disabled. Thank you. I haven't used it for ages. And let's see, there should be an instruction on how to set up from scratch. There we go. If you're using Cypress, click here. You can get your emails automated within seconds. SMS testing within seconds. Let me just click on it and show it to you guys so you could see how easy it is. Boom. Register, copy, paste, replace the server ID and the address, done deal. So that's how easy it is to be able to do this exact wording. Experience refactoring or extending your test automation framework to improve velocity. You did improve or you did extend your test automation framework by implementing Mailosaur. Boom, done deal. There are thousands of different integrations or libraries or frameworks that you can use, but this is one of the simplest examples that I have just shown you. Next one. Experience building out test automation tooling, test infrastructure tooling, pipelines, environments, etc. GitHub Actions is the most popular one in the world, as far as I know, right at this moment. Jenkins and Circle CI are slowly fading away with the newer tools such as GitHub Actions, such as GitLab and AWS CI. I forgot the exact names. But either way, those tools are still popular, but GitHub Actions is definitely a leader on this market. And I do also teach people how to build pipelines, set them up from scratch, and integrate test automation framework into CI/CD process. By the way, I have a video. You can probably see it on the top right corner of the screen right here, where I show you the basic setup and a basic explanation of GitHub Actions. Moving forward. Excellent problem-solving, analytical, and communication skills. Well, you definitely have to have that. Generally speaking, it's the standard for the market. If you are an engineer, you have to have problem-solving, analytical, and communication skills. Communication skills are the key to get a job. If you guys are having problem in getting a job offer, I would recommend you to check out these videos. We have about 10 to 20 hours of interview preparation that I've done with our graduates who already got a job offer. So those are real mock interviews, technical, non-technical. I'm going to leave a list for an entire playlist where you can see probably 10 to 20 of those. Moving forward, familiar with the Docker, AWS, or Kubernetes. So Docker is pretty much a container system, or if you are not familiar with it, you can think of the operation system. Let's solve the problem. Imagine that I am working on Mac and you're working on Windows, and we do have to install Cypress or Playwright on both of our laptops. We have requirements to be set before we can do that. And in order to install everything before we can install these frameworks, it's going to be a different job for me and for you, because our operation systems are different. But if we both install Docker, no one's going to care about our operation system anymore. We're going to be using Docker to run Cypress and Playwright. That's pretty much it. And AWS is the bunch of online services that we can use for test automation, for building websites, for a lot of things. I do explain basics of it as well in our course. Alrighty, understanding of test pyramid and the ability to break down technical projects into appropriate automation targets. Absolutely, as you are a QA engineer, if you don't know what test pyramid is, please check it out right now. Just Google it. You understand. It's a very simple concept that every single QA engineer or an SDET should know. Strong understanding of databases, including complex SQL queries and stored procedures. Awesome. That still does not mean that you have to be a programmer or a software developer. You have to know SQL on the somewhat deep level. Great. And in the majority of the cases, you will not even have to know that. This is something particular to this position in this company. In 90% of the cases, our graduates do not use much of the SQL at their job. Myself, I've been here for a decade in the world of SDETs, and I've used it in some companies, in others I've almost not used it at all. Alrighty, and my favorite part, because usually I get everything, nice to have, experience with performance testing and load testing for APIs. If you go to Google, type in K6 load testing, boom, navigate here. And then you can go through these examples. It's a very simple code. Here's a JS, and you can probably use different programming languages, but super simple code in a JS where you can do load testing and a performance testing. I'm not sure I don't think I have a video for it yet, by the way, it's a good idea. And if you guys are interested in me recording video for load testing and API testing through K6, you leave a comment right below this video. Experience with contract testing. I did explain to you guys what contract testing is one more time. It's a testing of communication between multiple microservices in order to verify that they have a communication set up between them. Deeper understanding of cloud infrastructure and tooling, AWS, Docker, etc. So this where the word and as that comes to a little difference with a key automation engineer, because usually you don't dig much into it. Myself, I've built an infrastructure from scratch for one of the fastest growing startups in Northern America in the last few years. And I did have to dig a lot into AWS, Docker, and etc. And at the end of the process of creating that infrastructure, even DevOps did sometimes ask me questions about the things that I was doing, because usually they don't dig much into it that way. Experience building an automation framework from scratch and leading a major overhaul. In my honest opinion, every QA engineer should know how to build a test automation framework from scratch. And if you guys have not, I'm going to leave a link for a very simple, for a hyper simple setup for those who never done it or maybe did it a long time ago but forgot about it. Experience building tooling, scripting to enable test automation for other teams, Docker images, pre-commit testing. So this is kind of advanced, but you don't have to know that. It is nice to have. It is sort of my level. I can explain it to you. Pretty much what they want is they want you to build a test automation framework and add the ability for other people or developers to run your tests before they even create their commits. If you don't know what commit is, as I mentioned, I previously left a video on the top right corner of the screen about a GitHub, a Git and a GitHub. Experience with test practices such as mocking services and test data generation. Mocking services is the way to simplify your testing and get rid of third-party integrations. Alrighty, next one. Ability to use infrastructure tooling to troubleshoot services and analyze through logs. There is not much else to add here, as logs will be specified, can be shown in different applications such as Grafana, Elasticsearch, New Relic, etc. So whichever tool you use, your company will get you access to it and someone will probably explain it to you, so no worries at all. And you can see what people offer, but let's sum it up. That position is saying senior SDET, but in my opinion, it's a senior or architect level or QA automation engineer. And to be honest, some of the best of our students, after they finish the course, they could go for that position. The question is not about how many years of experience you have. The question is, how do you utilize your experience? Because it's going to sound like advertisement, but I'll be very honest. Within 5 months and a half, you can work your ass off on our course, or you can simply sit and wait and do homework and spend time, I don't know, with your family and chill and say you finished the course, you're a automation engineer. But there are people who are spending their days and nights, who are falling asleep with the code, who are waking up with the code. If you are one of those folks, you could potentially go for that position and give it a shot. In a worst case scenario, even if you fail it, even if you don't have an SDET position on your resume, but you apply for it, somehow they call it, but you fail it. The most important thing here to understand is you're gonna gain as much experience probably as you have gained within the last half of the year of your job if you worked as a QA automation engineer. Because going through an interview or applying for a job is a full-time job. And if you do need help with it, if you do need someone to guide you through or simply to consult with and help you to understand your career path, where do you want to go or what to do next with your career, feel free to sign up for a consultation with me right below this video. Now, don't forget to get some water, get some workout, and get a really good sleep. I'll see you next time.